Good morning. We'll start by checking appearances.
Mr. Bashir and Mr. White appear for the first petitioner. Mr. Wele and myself appear for the second petitioner. Ms. Kirui and Mr. Victor Kamau appear for the third petitioner. Mr. Mbati, the mics today are rather loud, appears for the fourth interested party and also holds brief for the third interested party.
Holds brief for which person?
For Ms. Mutemi, sorry. Ms. Mutemi for the third interested party. Ms. Njoroge and Ms. Soweto, who will be joining us shortly, appear for the sixth interested party. And also, Ms. Njoroge holds brief for I have mixed my notes. Ms. Njoroge holds brief for Ms. Mutemi, who is for the fifth interested party. Therefore, Ms. Ombati holds brief for Ms. Munga. Not Ms. Munga. For Ogola, not Ms. Munga. For Ogola for the third interested party. Sorry for the mix-up. Over to my learned colleague, Mr. Revin.
Ladies and Lord, for the first respondent, we have Ms. Kamande. I appeal Mr. Thuo for the second and third respondents. Mr. Nyamodi and Ms. Dawn appear for the fourth and seventh respondents. The fifth respondent is represented by Dr. Nyawundi. For the sixth respondent, Mr. Barak, holding brief for Mr. Mwendo. And for the first interested party, we have Mr. Ochieng. Finally, for the eighth and the ninth interested party, Mr. Omalanda.
Okay, today's guest. We want to proceed with the cross-examination of the respondents' witnesses for today's hearing. Mr. Rivero, I don't know whether you want to start with the cross-examination of the deponents, or you'd like us to take the expert witness first.
My lady would like to start with the witness. As I indicated, Dr. Kibicho will be traveling tonight.
Yes.
He is in court. We would like to begin with evidence.
Yes.
We hope we can finish today before he has to travel. Then after that, we have Mr. Ochieng, the PS ICT on standby. Then our expert witness comes last, Mr. Lloyd Conway.
Okay.
Yes.
So we can put Dr. Kibicho in the stand.
Indeed.
Now, just again to remind the parties and counsel about the directions given by the court during cross-examination, please ask direct questions. The witnesses, please answer the questions we are asked so that we proceed with speed.
I swear by the Almighty God and the evidence that the evidence that I give to this court is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, nothing but the truth. So, help me God.
Okay, Dr. Kibicho, you can sit because I think this will take a bit of time and you might get tired. So you're allowed to sit down.
You've been invited to take a seat, Dr. Kibicho. You can have a seat. It's too low. Maybe Mohammed, you can organize for a higher seat. Dr. Kibicho, welcome to court. Feel comfortable. And I'm going to ask you just a few questions to introduce your documents. Then my colleague on the other side will be asking you some questions, after which we will re-examine you. So firstly, could you kindly give your full name to the court?
Thank you very much. My name is
Karanja Kibicho. Your affidavit read Dr. in brackets Engineer Karanja Kibicho. Is that a full description of yourself?
I was advised to don't title yourself.
Yes.
Those are my titles.
Excellent. What do you do, Dr. Kibicho?
I'm the principal secretary responsible for the State Department of Interior and Citizen Service.
Okay, very well. In terms of background, so that the judges get to know who they are dealing with, could you kindly give us a brief description of your educational qualifications?
I don't know where you want me to start. But
what university say first degree going on?
Yeah, I'm a holder of first degree from the University of Nairobi, mechanical engineering, and a master's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Nairobi, and a PhD in mechanical engineering from the University of Cape Town.
Very well, thank you very much for that. Then in terms of work experience, could you just tell us what you've done professionally and also in particular about public service?
I started working in 1991 in public service as a lecturer in JCOT, but in 2010 I joined the Ministry of Public Service as a permanent secretary, as they were called then, the Ministry of Industrialization, where I worked for 2-3 years before moving to the Ministry of Transport, during the transition of 2012-2013. Joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 2013, stayed there in December of 2015 to move to the Ministry of the Interior in January of 2016, where I worked with it.
Great. Now, can you confirm to the court, Dr. Kibicho, that in accordance with the amended law, this is the Registration of Persons Act, the amendment that is the subject of this litigation, that under that law you are the administrator of NIIMs?
I can confirm that.
You can confirm that. And in that capacity, can you confirm that you have signed the 4 affidavits? There's a sheet of paper that lists those affidavits that you have signed.
Yes, I've signed all of them. You want me to list them?
Let me prompt you. You sign a replying affidavit dated 26th of February 2019 in petition number 56.
Yes.
Just a moment. We need to observe the witness. So I don't know whose equipment this is, if it can be removed so that the judge can observe the witness. I don't know what it is.
Thank you, Malay. So the first one was the reply affidavit sworn on the 26th of February 2019, filed on 27th of February 2019 in petition number 56.
Yes, I did.
Secondly, a reply affidavit, same dates, 26th of February 2019, filed 27th of February 2019 in petition number 58.
I confirm I did.
And a third replying affidavit, same dates, 26th of February 2019, sworn and filed on the 27th of February 2019 in petition number 59.
Yes, I did.
And finally, you swore a further affidavit in the consolidated petitions, that is 56, 58, and 59, on the 14th of May 2019, filed on the same day.
I confirm. I signed it.
Excellent. You have these documents in front of you?
I have them.
Great. Would you like them admitted as your evidence before the landed judges?
Yes, yes, I will.
Thank you very much. My ladies, what I might call the master replying affidavit is really the one in 56. The replying affidavit in petition number 56 was really the master from which the others were derived. So maybe for ease of convenience, so that you're not shuffling from one massive document to another, to the extent possible, we could adopt the replying affidavit in petition number 56 as the main reference replying affidavit, because the others are a petition of the same, and it contains everything that is in all the other replying affidavits and a little more. So subject to that, I will look at that and offer the witness for any questions.
Yeah. Okay, is that agreeable to the petitioners, or you'd like to cross-examine on all their behalf?
It's fine, but if there is something, if it is exactly the same, we are fine with that.
So, Honorable Karwa, you are examining alone, or there will be other counsel examining?
There will be other counsel. That's Good morning once again, yes,
Morning, Mheshimiwa.
Now that you are here in your capacity as PS, I hope you do not mind me referring to you as PS.
I don't.
Where PS goes for Principal Secretary, Ministry of Interior. Now, looking at your affidavit, you have stated that you are familiar with the Constitution.
Yes, I am.
And in particular, have you looked well at Article 1? Article 1, which clearly states that sovereign power belongs to the people.
Yeah, I've looked at it.
And you also know that it is the people who donate the sovereign power to the three arms of government, namely the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive.
Yes, I understand.
You therefore also know, therefore, that that power is to be exercised in accordance with the Constitution.
Yes, I understand.
Bearing also the sovereignty of the people, that it is for the people, the government acts.
Yes, I understand.
Okay, I just also want to know whether we share the same understanding that the word government is not limited to the three arms of government, but the people of Kenya are part of government.
I understand that government is made up of the three arms. The legislature, executive, and the judiciary.
Yeah.
You are the minister who belong to the country. But as to whether the people are government, I don't share that understanding.
Okay, I'm just putting it to you that if the power to the three institutions is derived from and donated by the people actually own the government.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's just the understanding that I needed. And therefore, whatever the government does, it does in the name of the people. Because the people are sovereign.
That's correct.
Dr. Bishop, we agreed on PS. PS Bishop, you also know that Article 10 gives the right to participation to the people of Kenya in matters that affect them.
That's correct.
And it is because of this article that in the legislative process and even policy-making process, the institutions of government, the legislature and the executive are obliged to invite or to facilitate public participation in these processes.
That's correct.
You also share my understanding that in order for the people to have a meaningful participation, the government, whether it is the executive or the legislature, are obliged to avail such information as is necessary to the people in order that they may participate.
Repeat that again so that I understand what you're asking.
Yeah, I'm asking, do you share my understanding that in order for the people to participate, in order the people participate in a meaningful way, it is the responsibility of the government, whether the legislature or the judicial or the executive, the judiciary, to give to the people adequate information to facilitate such meaningful participation?
I share that with the rider that it is subjective what adequate means and the mode of that public participation, what it means, and lend itself to overall interpretation.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you share that understanding that adequate, information has to be given for meaningful participation. You can leave the court to interpret as to what is adequate and to our submissions as councils. Now, you are the administrator of NIIMs, the Huduma number.
Yes, I am.
You have actually said it in your affidavit. I just want you to help us. What is the minimum information required for people to register for Huduma number?
I think by ourselves, I don't know how much time you need to give me to answer that question. But in the form that you are using to register people for Huduma number, they had a number of sections. The first one was the biodata that required us to first get to know the name of the person being registered, their gender, date of birth, their place of birth, that would run.
So personal information about
the
person.
That's what I'm calling the biodata.
Biodata, but you're saying it includes the residents.
Let me just get
the actual form.
copy. Yes, I have it now. In the form that actually you are using that was both physical and digital. We have a section that captured the biodata information of the people. And I want to be full in it. We were capturing all the name, the gender, place of birth, the status of disability as the first section of the biodata information. The second set, we were capturing the citizen information, depending on whether the person appearing before a registration clerk was a citizen or a non-citizen. And that, and innate, if one is a citizen, we require if that person is above 18 to produce an ID card, birth certificate, if they have an NHIF card, if they are drivers, they would be required to produce a driver's license, NSSF, KRA PIN, and passport for citizens. But for non-citizens,
you confirm that for citizens, all this information, all these cards have to be produced as shown on section 2 of the form.
That's not correct. For anyone who is a citizen and who is above 18, the mandatory document they had to produce was the ID for them, because we are aware not all people who are above 18 have NSSF, not all people who are above 18 have driver's license. So for that section, the mandatory for over 18 was an ID, and for below 18, the mandatory thing to produce for one to be registered was the birth certificate. All the others depended on whether one had them or not. And even if you had a driver's license and you chose not to produce it, nobody would force you.
Mandatory is ID.
Just ID for above 18.
And below 18, birth certificate. Yes. I'm only interested mainly in citizens. But you can go ahead and give for aliens.
Non-citizen, we of course ask them for their nationality, their country of origin, their passport, alien or refugee, their refugees, the number and the expiry dates. And we also want to know the status of their stay here, whether they are on work permit, people pass, the things listed in the form, including
ladies too, on the state page. The code could be in the document.
It's KK1.
Yeah, which is essentially at page 12. And it's line affidavit.
It's also an extra KK1.
Then the other information,
Thank you.
if you allow me, Your Honor, is the marital status. And obviously, marital status has certain configurations, either single, married, separated, divorced, or widowed. And we have supplied some spaces, and would then require an ID number of the spouse or spouses. And again, this was not a mandatory field. The other one is the parent or guardian details, where we would ask for the father's name, mother's name, with their details shown in that form, or guardian. If it's an individual, then we would require their name and their details. But we are aware that not all guardians are people. There are institutions that are guardians, so we provide space for that.
Okay, before you go over, I would like you to read to the court the wording that appears below that form.
I want to correct that this form was so that because I know.
But can we first
Yes,
read
we
it
can.
and then you explain?
We can read it.
Yes.
Huduma number registration is mandatory as per section 9A of the Registration of Persons Act, 107. We enable the government to provide you with services. This form and the registration process is absolutely free of charge.
Thank you.
Before we leave there, I want to say this form, because we needed 30 million of them, was printed before this matter was brought to court. And when it was brought to court, subsequent forms, we removed that section. And we have also provided that form that doesn't have that form.
But you will agree with me that the online part of this form remained. It's only recently you have removed.
We removed it as soon as the court ruled that we don't make registration mandatory. But moving on to the next section of our form, we needed to know the permanent and physical address of the person appearing before us. We started with the county all the way to the village. We also are aware that not everybody who lives in their place of permanent address, therefore we ask for current physical address. And the last detail would be the education details for this section, where we would want the person appearing before us to tick their status of education. The next section is about employment status, either employed, self-employed, or unemployed, and they would be required to ask which type of industry, one, if they're employed or self-employed, whether they are service, industry, or agriculture, and if self-employed, what is the scale of the employment? Is it large, medium, or SME? Then after that, we had a question on agricultural activities to know whether the person appearing before us was involved in any agricultural activities, either a yes or a no, and if it's a yes, in what sector? We have the crops, livestock, agriculture, and tree. And if in agriculture, what is the land tenure? Is it leased, owned, community, or public? And after that, we would want to know what size of farm you are engaged in, and whether or not you are using irrigation. Then after that, we would take the biometric prints digitally and a photograph digitally of the respondent, and then required to know whether they are themselves, because for the ones above 18, they would have to be themselves, and the ones below 18 would have to be accompanied by a parent or a guardian. So you need that information, and would then require the information if it's a guardian of that person. That's the form.
Okay, thank you. Now, you will agree with me that this data capture form does not specify on itself, which section is mandatory and which is optional? On itself, on the face of it.
Yes, but it doesn't, but there was practice.
No, just that. The rest, Mr. Regero may generate from you. It doesn't show what is mandatory. Would you also agree with me that, or maybe you may not, that the permanent physical address and agricultural activities are not necessary for purposes of identification?
You would allow me to tell you why there is this section first.
Okay, just tell me. I'm interested.
This form, the purpose of Huduma registration was personal identification.
Yeah.
But at the time you are going for Huduma number registration,
Yeah.
there are a number of government ministries that had also asked for budgetary support to carry out the registration of people. Ministry of Agriculture was out there to carry out registration of people, of farmers.
Yeah.
Ministry of Industry was out there to carry out registration of industrial activities of Kenyans.
Yeah.
Ministry of Health, because of universal health care, was out there. And then the government, we said we will fatigue Kenyans if we are having all these people going to the same Kenyans to ask basically the same information, because whether it is Ministry of Agriculture, they will still ask you your name, they still ask you. So we agreed, and if you see the evolution of this form, it started by asking all those, because we formed a multi-agency committee that was composed of all those players, and told them, tell us, when we go to this Kenyan, so that we don't have to keep going so many times, what do you want us to ask them on their behalf? And that is why some of these appear. But we also agree that not everybody qualifies for all this. There are people who are not farmers and all that, so they wouldn't be bothered with these sections. Like I say, the only compulsory thing that we required was the ID for over 18 and the birth certificate for below 18. And you could provide that, give us your thumbprint, take the digital photo and leave. You don't have to fill anything else.
Thank you for that information. So that data capture form is capturing more than personal identity because of the interministerial needs.
Yes, and for efficiency of government operations.
Also, from what you have told me, it's obvious, therefore, that a person without an identity card and a child without a birth certificate could not register for Huduma.
That is correct. Anyone who came without any form of identification wouldn't be registered.
Now, are you aware that the information required for registration, some of it is personal information? In fact, almost all of it.
The information,
your identity, where you stay, the work you do, all those, that's part of one's personal identity, personal information.
I don't want to agree with you because
how would you then classify it?
The information you're asking for is information already in government institutions. And I think if you give me an opportunity to explain the rationale, then probably you could see our point of view.
No, that one, or the opportunity will come to you later. At this point, I just wanted to know whether you do agree it's personal information, but now that you say it's information that was already with the government, then why do you bother asking people what you already hold? You could digitize it from your offices.
Yeah, so I think that's where I want to take an opportunity.
Yeah, tell me why then.
As follows. ID information is with government through National Registration Bureau. And across all this information is with institutions. But we live in this country. We know that our population register had been adulterated over time. And that is why in this country, you will find two people with IDs that have the same number. You find even outside, there are people who are holding a Kenyan passport that is not genuine. And we all understand that government had reached a point where we have to match the document being held by people and the person. And for the first time in our Kenyan history, so that we don't miss the point, create a digital population register. And the underlying word capitalized is the digital population register, which doesn't exist. Because, as we are aware, I hope you allow me to call you that here.
Okay.
As you are aware, the delivery point of this government was digitization. And we had seen a lot of digitization. You can now be able to apply for even your company registration from your phone where you are. We digitized land registration. We digitized everything, including examination, results releasing, digitized everything apart from the population register. And therefore, to complete the agenda of government, it was decided the missing link why service provision is inefficient is because even if everything else is digitized and you have to still go and manually then verify the identification of a person, then what you wanted to achieve is nothing. And that is why we decided as government that for the first time in Kenya's history, we will create a digital population register. And because of the adulteration that had taken place over time, we agreed that we need to match the information with the real person. And I am sure, Mheshimiwa, you went for human registration.
No, I haven't.
Okay, when you go, when you will eventually go, you will find that the kit is configured in such a way that if you are actually not a live person, it will not even take your photograph, because we want to match the information to the person and clean up our population register and digitize it. And obviously, the benefit of that digital register, if you at some point you want me to say that, infinite.
Okay, I'm satisfied with the answer you have given me, but want to take you a little back. You said you required the information about agriculture, physical and permanent address because other ministries needed this information.
We did not need permanent and physical address because of agriculture. Even if agriculture was not there, because we want to identify a person and locate them to a place.
You said the Huduma data capture form had more information as required by the Joint Ministerial Committee.
Yes, and that's exactly what.
And that's why agriculture is appearing there.
But the physical, Your Honor, the requirement for physical address was not because of agriculture. Even if Ministry of Agriculture was not part of this, it's because we want to identify a person and locate them to a place. The same information that is asked for when you are registering for your ID, the same information that's asked for when you're even going for a birth certificate, it will be asked, where is the location of parents? I think it's the same information we're asking here.
Okay, but the agriculture information you confirm this is new.
This agriculture information is new, and it was a request by the information about employment status and type of industry, the information of agriculture, and the information of disability and NHIF were a direct request by the State Department, because they are saying, since you are going there, instead of us going 10 times, so it was added so that we also help them, because we are going to meet this.
I appreciate all that. Leading me now to the last question on this data capture form. You therefore agree with me that the information you got in the data capture form included new information the government did not have.
The information, I don't want to agree with you because
You have just said this information is new about agriculture. You gave me 3 areas. You said agriculture,
health,
disability, and health are new matters.
health. No, the information about NHIF, which is what the Ministry of Health requires, is not information on personal identification. But the government has information of who is the holder of an NHIF card and what services.
That I have not.
The information about farming and agriculture in this country is existing with Ministry of Agriculture, only that it's not matched to this person who is before us. So it would only be more laborious to match the people in the information if we did it differently. But how many people have 5 acres of land? It's information that is available in the Ministry of Lands. So
it's available in the Lands Office, but not collected in a central point by the government. It's individually available if you went to search.
So what we are doing,
that's what I'm driving at, that the collection of this information is a new thing, in so long as it is aggregated for every person in Kenya who owns land.
The information on agriculture about land is who owns what land is not new information for government. But that this person whose biometrics are taking a picture, because you can see, we are not even asking what is your LR number. We are only asking you, do you do agriculture? And it's for a good reason, because we want to plan for agriculture.
I have no problem with that, but I am saying the government has never aggregated. It has records in the Lands Office of who owns land, but it has never collected in one central place information regarding land ownership. So it's new information.
It has never put it in this format. That's correct.
Okay. So let's move on. Now, I have the government has said that so far 38 million Kenyans have registered, or has the number gone high?
38 to be at close of the first phase of mass registration. 38 million Kenyans. Or thereabout.
Yes, the form is divided into adults and children. How many of these were minors? Minors meaning below 18.
We have out of the court order that was given. We were only allowed to go ahead and do data capture, which we did, and we haven't actually analyzed anything until in compliance with the court order. And so to aggregate how many were adults, how many were children, we require us to go into that data, which will then be against the court rule.
Okay, will you confirm that you went into schools to register for women?
We
both primaries and secondary schools.
I will not confirm that. The schools were venues of registration, but every person who are registering as a child must have been accompanied by their guardian or parent. In
secondary schools, boarding secondary schools, would those people be accompanied? Yes,
if you want me to table a list of where we went, that I would. Let me skip that one and confirm to you.
Yes. If by the end of the day you give us a list of the places you went to, we'll be happy. Now, we were again talking about the Constitution. I want to take you to, before I take you to Article 24, you told me that the government would have to give information for meaningful participation. What information did the government give regarding Huduma?
I think there has been that question about public participation. Just let me start sharing. The government went out. All principal secretary went out, the committee went out. We used our national government administration to disseminate the chiefs, the assistant chiefs, to ensure that everybody was sensitized. I personally went to over 20 places, and so the other PSs. And
when was this that you went?
It was well before we started the registration, to sensitize the people, to ensure that they know the benefits of this registration, and we use the most effective infrastructure in terms of civic education around this issue for the national government administration officers. We have evidence that every assistant chief who would basically be handling around 3,000 people was well equipped, trained, and we packed sheets so that they were able to explain to the people. And we could see the benefits. That's how we were able to know that 8 billion people.
Yeah, with the threat that it is mandatory. When you went out, you told people it was mandatory because that's what the form said.
I don't agree with you. I went.
Were you telling them before the court order that it's optional?
We were telling them that there are the following benefits. I think like where we are going is on record, and those can be extracted. We are telling them the benefits, why you need to have a digital population.
That's okay, so you are telling them the benefits, but not telling them it is mandatory.
It wasn't mandatory, and that is why there are 8 million Kenyans who are registered, and that is why when you did register for Huduma number, and nothing has been done to you, because it wasn't mandatory.
I'm protected by the courts.
Yes.
But before the court order, weren't you on all media announcing it is mandatory, especially you particularly? Together with the chief.
I actually have picked the Bible up. There is no one instant in my life I've gone to a media house and said registration of Huduma number is compulsory and mandatory. I would want that table here. I have never ever gone to say and threatened that if you don't register, these are the court. What we are doing is explaining the same thing that if this court finds it fit for me to explain, I would explain the benefits, and therefore Kenyans will turn up because they need to reap those benefits.
Yes, Bishop. Isn't it true that you actually went out to explain after this case was launched?
That is not correct.
And after the interim orders were given by the court, that's when you went flat out, when the exercise was still ongoing.
That's not correct. This exercise started in February 2018. That's when we started, after the Gazette notice and the executive order that established the committees that were making the preparations. We started our sensitization then, and we have a schedule of where did we go, what did we do. But obviously, this being a deliverable that the government had promised, we looked at what do we need to do upfront before we go for civic education. And the first thing was to look at the enabling laws that would allow us to do it. And
do you know when this case was filed?
We need to refer.
You know it was filed in February. You know it was filed in February. The same time you're saying you went out.
The case was filed in 2019. We started the Huduma preparation in February of 2018.
Is that when you went to public?
That is when we started the preparation. That's when we started engaging the politicians. That's when we started our civic education with the assistant chiefs. And it's obvious that when we decided now we want to go out and start registering people so that they spare the time to go before the registration flags, that is when I went flat out to explain. But well before we started the registration.
Yeah, I want to put it to you that if you started at all in February 2018, that was an internal government issue, training your administrators, but that for the public, it was in February after this, 2019, after this case was filed.
I want to
Yes or no?
state that we need sufficient.
No, yes or no, that you went flat out to the public after the filing of this case.
I will table to this court the schedule of
Yeah.
going out so that the court can see whether it was, because I haven't carried the dates with me. But
But did you go flat out on the filing of this case? Yes or no?
We didn't go because of the case. We went because it was the right thing to do.
Okay, Bishop, what you are aware of Article 24 of the Constitution, that when you are limiting fundamental rights and freedoms, and personal information is part of that, you can only do so if there is a law, a legislation limiting that fundamental right of freedom. You can look at 2, and that legislation must indicate the extent of the limitation. In other words, if you want personal information, for instance, DNA, you have to show it is necessary, and you have to have a law giving limits of how much of the DNA you can take.
That's correct. But I also want to say, because we have collected 38 million data sets, there wasn't ever an intention to collect DNA because we referred to it.
In phase 1.
Even in phase 10, forever.
So why is the provision for collection of DNA in the amendments that we are now subject to this?
I think we must go to what we wanted to achieve. And I keep repeating that what we wanted to achieve is digital population register. And for that to happen, so that we have a unique identifier of Kenyans, knowing that not all Kenyans have the same physical facilities for identification. For example, if we decided to use fingerprints as our biometrics, not everybody has fingers. If we decided to use earlobes, not everybody has earlobes. And we amended the law, but the definition that was put in the law is the dictionary definition of what biometrics are. Our intention is to do a unique identifier, one, not a combination of them. And the definition that was put in amendment that we are talking about was a split pick from a dictionary. What does the word biometric mean?
Yeah, that is good enough. So you agree with me that the definition put in the law is giving a wider latitude than what is necessary?
We defined it as it's defined by law, and we, in our sensitization programs across, we actually went flat out to explain, even though this is what the amendment has said, we as a government, now, tomorrow, and into eternity, are only interested in a digital photograph and in digital fingerprints. And for those who don't have digital, they don't have fingerprints to take from. For that phase, we did not even have the capacity to pick the iris or earlobes. Therefore, in the form, we left an opportunity for the person who has that inability to record that this person appeared before me, but they don't have fingers to take fingerprints from.
It's okay. You have explained the intention, and you have also said the law used the dictionary meaning. Don't you agree with me that it leaves the opportunity, should you require in future or now, for you to go beyond what is being collected now? It would be completely lawful with this law to collect all the others that you have not.
I think during
It's yes or no? It's yes or no, and then if it's required, you will explain, or your lawyer will allow you to explain.
It's a no for us.
So you do not agree, you are telling the court you can collect all those things, but you do not agree that the retina is included, iris, voice waves, but you do not agree that this law now permits you to collect. So that's basically what I'm asking. That's the law as it is permits you to collect these things, even though you have no intention of collecting.
If we go by the definition of the biometrics, it does.
Yes, that's all that I wanted. Are you aware, PSK Bishop, that the petitioners are in fact not opposed to digitization of records? Are you aware that as the petitioners, all three of them are not opposed to digitization? All they have is concerns about the manner of which it is being done. Are you aware?
I would, my interpretation is that they are opposed to it, but I will leave it to them to confirm in this court that they are not.
I want to show you Kigoro's affidavit. This is the replying, the supporting affidavit to the second petition. I want George Kigoro. And I'm asking the witness to read to the court paragraph 15I. Petitioners are not opposed to the digitization of records.
I think it's, if you allow me,
Yeah.
It is as accurate to the extent that I tell you I love you and I still slap you.
Then in that case, read the entire paragraph so that we see where that came from. Yeah, where the slap is. Yeah, just read the entire paragraph then. So that we get there.
I stopped at national identification.
Just read it one all together so that the
all right, I read it again.
Yeah.
In principle, the petitioner is not opposed to the proposal that the citizens be assigned unique national identification numbers. However, unless the concerns regarding the security and integrity of the system is highlighted here, addressed, a unique identification number as a central access platform will avoid the risk of compromise of the system and by extension the privacy and security of the people.
So they're saying, the petitioner here is saying, we are not opposed, but we have concerns that need to be addressed. That is the long and short of it.
Yeah, I still hold the other position.
But they're saying it is okay, but we have concerns which we demand to be addressed.
I agree that you raise the concerns to be addressed.
Is this in line, in your view, with Article 10 of the Constitution, which gives the right to public participation in all processes that affect citizens?
I don't know.
Seeking to engage government to address citizens' concerns in a legislation, in a process. Is that what Article 10 provides for, in your view?
It does.
Has it occurred to you, I'm assuming that you are aware of the issues raised in the petitions, the three petitions. Has it occurred to you at all that as a senior officer of the government mandated to oversee this process, you would see to be the petitioners to save the court time and also save government money, by discussing how the concerns raised can be addressed, or by understanding their concerns more?
There is nothing we would have loved more. We have the petitioners who are before the court now, but we have hundreds of Kenyans who kept coming to us for these explanations. Every time we would go for public participation, every time we would go to even the media itself, we would tell them to be ruthless with us in terms of their fears, and we would explain to them. And like the petitioner that you referred to, Kegoro, who is known to me very well, there is no time he came to us and we declined to explain to him how we are taking care of the fears he has expressed in that reality.
Now that the suit was filed in court, did you yourself attempt to reach out to them and to the other petitioners to address? Remember, you are working for the public. We started from the people. Did you at all think it was necessary to engage the petitioners to see how these issues, how they could make you better understand their concerns and how you could respond to them?
We, like I've said, I repeat, we engaged hundreds of people in this, including parliament, including organized group, churches.
So the answer is no, that you did not reach out to them after this case was filed.
The answer is no, and they had an opportunity to actually ask those questions, and they also didn't avail themselves when we provided even the opportunity.
Now, the concerns being raised are about safety of data in that paragraph.
Yes.
I want to show you Jerome Ochieng's affidavit. Page 1.
Yes.
The reply, the main affidavit is what we are referring to. Or shall I call it the big one? If you just open there at page 110, you can confirm to the court that it has the data protection policy 2019.
The page 110.
Yes.
Data protection policy 2019.
And I'll take you quickly to page 115 of that policy. Would you confirm to the court that page 115, item number 5, is principles for data protection?
That's correct.
And that 5.1 is about fairness, lawfulness, and transparency.
That's correct.
May I put it to you, therefore, that if petitioners come to court, they are raising issues of data security, and you do not reach out to them to give them that information, if at all you are satisfied that what they are asking for is catered for, that is lack of transparency on the part.
I'll exit that point by saying we made open, engaged hundreds of people who were inquiring about exactly the same issues.
But not
these particular Kenyans did not actually come to us for explanation. And obviously, we would not know which particular group has a concern until they tell us they have a concern. These particular petitioners never informed us before they came to court.
After they came to court and you got to know of their concerns, it is occur to you that you could reach out in openness and tell them here is the information.
I am, like I have said earlier, not very conversant with procedures of court. My understanding was that once the matter has now come to court, we allow the court process to proceed unless the petitioners themselves now decide that can we talk, because it's a matter before court.
Let's move on.
That's my understanding of the procedures.
Let's move on. 5.3 recommends or is envisaging that there will be a data controller.
5.3.
Yeah.
Which page?
Page 116, 5.3. Data minimization. That the policy actually says you collect the least amount of data required. That's the policy. That's what we mean by data minimization.
I don't know whether you want me to make this comment at this point. This data protection policy is not data protection policy tailored for NIIMs.
But it is for everything in all the data in government.
And therefore, I think it would be fair, because this data policy covers a wider range. Even data that we give to people when they are entering buildings, even data that we give to other institutions that are not NIIMs.
Cover NIIMs, this policy?
NIIMs manages data, but the data.
Does it cover? Does the data you have said it's wide, it covers many things?
Yes.
My only one question to you before we proceed: does it cover NIIMs? Or NIIMs is exempt from this policy?
NIIMs is part of data.
Yeah, so I'm asking you in relation to NIIMs that just like all other data, the data you require from people for purposes of NIIMs should be minimized, should be specific to the purpose, and there must be a data controller.
That's correct.
Let's go on to page 118. And that there must be accountability. You must be able to demonstrate compliance to the principles of data protection. Yes. You have seen number 6 on page 118 on the rights subject, data subject rights, which include the right to be informed, access to their personal data in custody of the data controller, correction of false or misleading, deletion of false or misleading data about them, and all those things listed there, they apply to NIIMs.
Correct.
So do we have a data controller for NIIMs?
If I take you back to the form, and
take me back there. It does show
what
data controller
and what legal framework we're using for NIIMs. We're using the Registration of Persons Act, and the Registration of Persons Act, as amended in Section 9A, allows the Principal Secretary responsible for registration of persons, who in this case is the PS for Interior and Citizen Services. That's me. Allows us to be able to collect data. And the same way we have.
I have no question about that.
Let me finish my to collect, and in the law that we are using in itself has provided how is data that we have collected from public under that law protected. And it is the one, because it doesn't contradict what you're saying, but it is the one that we are using to ensure that we do not violate this policy. It's also provided
so
for
who is the data controller? Because you say this policy applies to NIIMs. So who is the data controller for NIIMs? Is it you?
I am the administrator.
Are you also the data controller?
I have people who work under me, like in this case, the person who is holding the key to where the data is for this is the director for National Registration Bureau.
You know why I'm asking this?
Yeah.
The subject rights given by this policy, page 118, entitle the public to know who is the data controller, because that's where you can register your complaint. So if there is opaqueness, like is being exhibited here by not answering whether you have a data controller, how then will a data subject, if they have any issue with their data, be able to get redress?
The data that is collected under the Registration of Persons Act, which is provided for under the amended Section 9, which becomes Section 9A. The controller of that data and the caretaker of that data on a day-to-day basis is the Director for National Registration Bureau. So whether he goes by the name data controller, the person who manages that data is the Director for National Registration Bureau. So he exists.
Okay, let's go to page 123. You have seen the policy as proposed to the Office of the Data Protection Commissioner. Have you established a Data Protection Commissioner in government or for NIIMs specifically?
I think and I would want to leave the in-depth analysis of the data protection policy because it preceded the law as usual. The policy now is in place. There is a data protection bill that is before Parliament.
When was it tabled?
And I don't have those dates.
But it was after this case.
The when we were creating a law takes a long time. It started well before 2016, but it has taken time to go before Parliament.
But it was tabled recently.
I wouldn't. I don't have the dates of that.
And that same data protection bill is proposing the Office of Data Controllers and the Office of a Data Commissioner who will take the complaints.
Yeah, and we cannot have those.
If you go to 129, you will see what I'm saying, so that I'm not just telling you, okay? You will see 139, paragraph part 3, the Data Protection Bill, 139.
I go to page 139.
Yeah, you see that there will be registration of data controllers and data processors. And if you go ahead, you see the Office of the Data Commission.
Yes, it's there.
Yeah, therefore, the policy envisaged a comprehensive law to safeguard data, and especially personal data. And that is why now there is a bill.
I think we are aware that this bill is not law yet.
Yeah, but there is
all the offices that it's proposing cannot be in existence until this becomes law. Number two, I don't think this bill, and I would want to leave that for the line ministry that is taking care of it. I don't think this bill is being brought into being because there is lack of laws to safeguard data in government. Each of the institutions that collect data from the public has a provision that protects it. But we are aware that there are so many of them, almost in excess of 10, who do it. And I think the intent of this bill is to consolidate them instead of them being fragmented in all places, bring it into one place and tidy up in terms of efficiency and in terms of follow-up. But it doesn't mean that this bill, even if it's not turned into law, that there is any exposure, because each of the institutions that does data collection has a provision of data protection. Whatever collection is done is protected by the same law that allows the data.
You remember where we started? That the information you are collecting on Huduma, you have it, and in your affidavit you are saying you've had that information for the last 100 years since 1989.
We haven't misused
So now you are now saying you have enough data protection legislation, but you now, just like Huduma, you are bringing a Huduma bill that has comprehensive data protection law.
We are bringing Huduma bill because personal information as it exists now starts at birth.
Yeah, but I would like, Bishop, for you to answer me directly, not in a circuitous manner, because it is a yes or no answer. Because you have said the data protection law is being brought because you have fragmented pieces everywhere. So you are now consolidating.
Yes.
And I'm therefore saying, just like Huduma number, where you say you already have the information and you are now digitizing it and bringing it together, it is the same for the data protection law. Is it a yes? Is it a no?
A yes, and the laws exist, only that we are typing them up.
That's what I had asked in the first place. So a yes would have been quite enough. Do you agree with me that then you put the cart before the horse? That you should have, just like you enacted a law to allow you to collect the information you are collecting for the Huduma number, you should have brought the Huduma bill complete with the data protection law ahead of collecting the information. Is it a yes or a no?
I don't agree with you.
So as far as you're concerned, this law that is coming is actually redundant because you already have such laws.
It's not redundant because I've said it's coming to consolidate. But it doesn't mean that if it doesn't come, that data is exposed, because I think that's the key area that I want to protect also. Okay,
show me who is the data commissioner in the current law. Cite any one of them which has a data commissioner who will enforce the protection of.
In Huduma number, the data commissioner, in other words, is the
Registration of Persons Act, the amendments, and if you don't have, I'll give you. Yes. Would you like to show me the clause that designates the registrar of persons as the data commissioner or data controller? And I'll be happy.
There is no law that exists today that requires a commissioner.
So you are agreeing there is nobody designated. It's you, the PS, who is telling us that the director will act in those capacities, but there is nowhere where there is a designation of data commissioner or data controller.
Let me get that.
Would you?
The registration of persons.
Okay, it's good you get the whole answer because I will need to ask you something. May I take it? Even this one, I'll take it away. Take your time and locate it.
I think if you go to, and I've just got it.
Yeah.
Without it. If you go to.
This is the amended law.
There is section 4,
yeah.
Also appointment of principal registrar and staff.
Just read it.
Says,
yeah.
The minister shall, by notice in the Gazette, appoint officers to be the principal registrar. We decided to call that person the director for administrative purposes, to align ourselves to the rest of the government nomenclature, and deputy principal registrar for the purposes of this act, and their functions are given correctly, that the principal registrar shall cause to be kept a register of all persons in Kenya to whom this act applies.
That's okay. Listed. Yeah. Show me where it says the director or the registrar will manage and protect data, or even hear complaints. Just show me there is. There isn't. So
that. No.
And if there
If
is
you go,
kindly,
it's there.
if it's
If
there,
you go
it's
to section 14,
yeah.
it's written offenses and penalties.
Yeah.
It says exactly what happens if there is unlawful disclosure by the registrar of data to a third party. It says that. And it
So
says
there are penalties for the registrar if he discloses to a third party. Is there a section to tell you how a person may complain if their data is captured wrongly, or if their data is violated? If they are recent, be kind enough to let the court know they are recent.
I need to check that. All I know is the person whose data is violated has very many ways of complaining. But we know after they complain and it is proven that there is violation, this act provides for the punishment of that person who has violated.
But what you have read only applies to the commission.
It applies to the registrar and staff.
So, and staff.
Yes.
Do you therefore agree with me that the Registration of Persons Act has no section designating a data commissioner and a data controller? It's you who is giving the designation, not the other.
Ask again.
Do you agree with me that the Registration of Persons Act, which is now in your hands, does not designate any one person as a data controller?
Our data controller is the principal registrar who we have called the director of national registration.
If not, there's nothing to do with data control or data commissioner in there.
There isn't in the definition of a commission in the act.
Thank you. That's all that I wanted. Now, since you're still holding the Registration of Persons Act, I want to refer you to George Keboro's further affidavit. Let me give the date. It is sworn on the 12th day of April 2019. And I'm referring you in particular to paragraph 5. You can read what is highlighted. Paragraph 5 of George Keboro's further affidavit.
You want me to read all of it?
Yeah, you can read all of it. Makes sense.
But the impugned amendments seek to register the children as well as the adults clearly going against the application of the Registration of Persons Act, 17, Section 2 of the article. The law states that this act shall apply to all persons who are citizens of Kenya and who have attained the age of 18 or over, or where no proof of age exists, the apparent age of 18 years or over.
Thank you. Do you agree with George Keboro that that's the position of the law as far as the Registration of Persons Act is concerned? You can go through it and see clearly.
I don't agree because the registration that we carried out and is stated clearly is done under Section 9A that actually establishes names and gives it a function to create, manage, maintain, and operate a national population register as a single source of personal information of all Kenyan citizens and registered foreigners resident in Kenya. And it's that all that allows us to go beyond the ones below 18.
The word all there, I want to put it to you, it refers to all who are over 18, because the Act says itself that it applies only to people above 18. So the all cannot include children, and if it was intended, then there would be a clause to specifically say so. If you look at Section 2, there is no new definition that was added. Would you confirm that Section 2 on definitions was not amended?
I am looking for further information. Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
This exercise was carried also together with the other considerations. And I want to go to the executive order that was given that opens.
I hope you are aware that an executive order cannot supersede the law. Only a legal amendment can.
I just want to read.
Okay.
We have interpreted our all to be children, anybody born and is resident in Kenya, but in the establishment of the committees and the technical committee, or the interministerial and the coordination one, it's actually written of the executive order that's dated 4th January 2019, that in the performance of its functions, the interministerial committee shall, for the first one, the report to the president regulates its own procedure, but I'm interested in the fourth one that reads, in the performance of its function, the interministerial committee shall be guided by the Registration of Persons Act, Cap 107, the Births and Deaths Registration Act, Cap 149, the Basic Education Act, number 14 of 2013, Kenya Citizenship and Immigration Act, the Refugees Act, and any other relevant legislation. So we are not reading it in isolation.
But this is a gazette notice, not a legal amendment.
Mr. Review, this gazette not disconnect.
I believe it wasn't this arising from the examination.
It's easily verified.
So I will not go on it because it's not on the annexures. I'll leave my comments about executive orders and the law for submissions.
It's actually a part of the annexures.
Is it?
It is there, KK6.
KK6 in your affidavit.
Page 155.
Okay. Page
155. 155.
Yes. This is the Gazette Notice KK6, Gazette Notice of 4th January 2019.
Correct.
I'm putting it to you that this Gazette Notice basically is dealing with the appointment of the Interministerial Committee on Huduma Number.
That's correct.
It's signed by the President.
Yes.
I put it to you that a Gazette Notice cannot amend the law. Where a law exists.
I think I leave that to legal argument.
Yeah.
We have executed a lot of businesses through Gazette notices and legal orders signed by the President in the past.
That's okay. I've said it. I'm happy with you leaving it to legal argument.
Yeah.
That's a fair position. Now look at paragraph 68 of your affidavit. You confirm that you're telling the court that amendments to the Registration of Persons Act are not substantive. In other words, you are saying they are minor amendments.
Say that again.
You can read your paragraph 68. It will help you understand the question.
You want me to read it loudly?
That's the wrong paragraph. That's not where you say, but you say somewhere in this affidavit that the amendments are not substantive. It certainly is not 68. May I rephrase the question? Do you consider the amendments to the Registration of Persons Act minor or substantive?
We consider them minor.
You consider them minor?
Yeah.
Even though they are introducing something new, centralized, digitized records of everything.
I don't think I repeat where I started. Other than the data that you asked me about farmers and industrialization, the rest of the data is not new, and all we are doing is collecting this data from different institutions that keep personal data. And I don't think that collecting data, because every institution, just allow me a minute, every institution that you go to ask your name, ask your ID, ask you.
We've already been there.
Now, asking for that data to us,
yeah.
Asking for that data and collecting it, yeah. It does not constitute a major amendment.
But bringing it together under one whatever portal is a new thing. Digitalization is new.
Digitalization of population register.
Collation and digitization
of national population register is new.
And you will agree with me that when data is digitized, it's available at the click of the finger.
That's correct.
So the benefits are accompanied by attendant risks if it is not properly protected.
That's correct.
I will hand over to my colleague, Mr. Bashir. Thank you.
Asante.
Good afternoon, Dr. Kibicho.
Good afternoon, Bwana Bashir.
I have a couple of questions for you. You are aware of who I am, and I asked for the past petition, the Nubians.
I'm aware.
You read their concerns in terms of you looked through the petition, the past petition.
I've been briefed, not read, but for what I've been briefed about it.
But you're generally aware of their concerns. And you're aware of that one of the main problems they have raised is this issue of vetting. You're aware?
I'm aware.
Dr. Kibicho, you're aware of the provisions of Article 27 of the Constitution?
I need to check what to read.
Article 27 is on discrimination. And I will read it for you because it's important. Article 27, Dr. Kibicho says, every person is equal before the law and has the right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. You've seen that somewhere. Yeah. Article 27, 2, it
it continues and says, equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and fundamental freedoms. You're aware of that provision.
Yes, I'm aware.
Dr. Kipicho, our constitution is very, has been hailed as a very progressive document. And it continues and says, at 27.4, the state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly. You've seen that provision before, right?
Yeah.
And it continues and says, against any person on any ground, including race, sex, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, age, disability, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth. You're aware. The Constitution continues at 27.5. It talks about individuals shall also not do the same, shall not discriminate.
Sure.
At 27.6, it says to give full effect to the realization of the rights guaranteed under this article, the state shall take legislative and other measures, including affirmative action programs and policies designed to redress any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of past discrimination. We are aware of this provision.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Dr. Kibicho, you have stated in your affidavit at paragraph 7E that you are aware of this thing called vetting, correct?
Yeah, I'm aware.
You said in your affidavit at paragraph 7E, that is the affidavit sworn on the 14th of May, if you could refer to it. You said that there are certain communities, and you've mentioned the list in there, who are vetted before they issued with nationality documents, correct? And you've listed the names of these communities, correct?
Are you referring to the small one?
Yes, the small one, the 14th of May.
What's it?
Paragraph 7E. That would be,
Yes, I've seen.
you see, and you list the communities that are, mentioned. You talked about Nubians, who are the first petition here, correct?
As examples.
As examples of people who are vetted, right? You talked about Igos, you talked about Koreans, you talked about Somalis and others, right? And basically what you're saying in that paragraph is that vetting is done based on ethnic grounds, correct?
That's not correct.
But you talk about communities.
I've stated examples.
Communities that are vetted.
Communities that are vetted.
Example
is not exhaustive.
is not, there are more. And
Regardless of
we continue with your if you agree with it, simply refers to communities, okay, whose members, by members, are found within Kenya as well as outside Kenya. Correct?
Say that again?
It's your statement, Professor Kibicho. I'm reading for you.
Yeah.
Let's read again together.
Yeah.
You can read it.
I have it.
Why don't you read it? I don't know how to read it. You can read it.
It's because I don't want to put words in my mouth.
Sorry, I don't want to put words in my mouth.
So let's go at it again.
You can read for me, actually, if you don't know.
Yeah, but I don't want the impression that you are putting that border community means tribes. Border communities mean communities living in the neighborhood, but in our infrastructure, we find that the way we are clustered, most of the communities will belong to the same tribe.
Yeah, we are structured as an ethnic
yeah, but
country, isn't it?
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes.
And we recognize each other using our ethnic background.
Yes.
Like you recognize somebody from somewhere because of their background.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I think you were trying to say, as well. Yeah. That in this regard, border communities simply refers to communities whose members are found within Kenya as well as outside Kenya. Correct? That's your statement.
Border community, that's what it says, but I could tell you what it means. So, it's in a country that is neighboring another country.
But you said that because we live in ethnic grounds, yes, that normally means ethnic groups, right? It normally means ethnic groups. You say
yes,
live both in Kenya and
normally.
Normally.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why precisely you mentioned people like Europeans, right?
Yes. Because
they live as a community in Kenya and outside, right?
Yes.
You talked about Somalis. They live in Kenya and they also live elsewhere, right?
Correct.
Okay, so and you even talked about other community members. You continued and you said other communities whose members undergo vetting before being registered are Kenyans of European and Asian origin, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And we talked about the Constitution says on ethnic issues. You're aware, and you've read that the petitioners are saying that vetting is giving them a lot of problems. You're aware of that. What they're saying the problem is vetting. You agree, right?
I don't agree that's giving them a problem.
I'm not saying you agree with giving them a problem. You're aware that they are saying it's a problem. You're aware that they have also submitted evidence that vetting causes delays in access to nationality documents. You're aware they're saying that. I'm
aware they're saying that, yeah.
And you're aware that they have even submitted, especially the first petition, has been submitted in an affidavit, the delays that they experience because they have paralegals. You're aware. You've read that petition and you've responded to it, correct?
Yeah, I'm aware they are saying that.
Okay. And you've not adduced any evidence, Dr. Kibicho, that what they're saying is incorrect. Like there's no report you've submitted in your documents that there are no delays specific to the past petition when it comes to acquisition. But they've said the number of days it takes them, you're aware of setup, but you've not responded in your documents, right?
I need to check them, but I need to check what I said around that. But the word delay, when there's vetting,
let's go specifically.
Yes.
Do you remember submitting any report to say that the Nubian community, it takes this number of days for them to acquire nationality documents? Did you submit any document like that?
No, neither can I submit for Kenya, even though it's not being vetted.
Thank you. It's just that's all I wanted. We read the provisions of the Constitution of the Kibicho about historical discrimination, correct? It's there. I was not making. It says that the state shall take legislative or other measures, including provision of budgets, to address this historical discrimination, correct?
That's correct.
But to be sure, you will not use any evidence to address this issue of, historical discrimination of communities who have been vetted for decades. You've not used any evidence, have you?
I thought the purpose of cross-examination is that you give me an opportunity to answer that question if it's not in there.
I don't think so, but it's okay. Let me continue. You've not adduced any evidence. It's a yes or no, really, and we can move on to lunch. You've not adduced any evidence of any steps taken, whether budgetary or legislative, to address historical discrimination, have you? Yes or no?
We have provided a lot of support to address the historical injustices.
Have you adduced it in court today? Any document you have that shows this, that you've addressed this issue?
I would say again, we have a lot of activities, some current as we speak, as we are in this court, that are addressing what you ask.
Do you have any documents?
They are there, yes.
Do you have it?
I will provide you them.
But you don't have it right now, and you've not adduced it.
I don't have it here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And it's for the simple reason that these are continuous things. For example, at the moment we are doing a rapid response initiative of registration of persons in the country. That did come because of the court matter, but it comes as our routine issues. And if you require us to show you even the frequency when we do that, we have that information.
Let's come to Huduma, the NIIMs system, which you are the administrator of. You responded to my learned friend, the senior counsel. You said to be captured on NIIMs, you have to, you cannot be captured on NIIMs if you don't have, if you are over 18, an ID or a passport. I presume as well can help you get it, but an ID will.
Anyone who is a citizen, above 18, must have an ID. And
if you're below 18, you needed to have a birth certificate. These are the documents that you need. Dr. Kibicho, you're aware that you can be a Kenyan, but you don't have documents, correct? For what reason or another, it's possible.
They are Kenyans without them.
Without documents.
Yes.
So Dr. Kibicho, you agree that these Kenyans will not be able to be enrolled in NIIMs, correct? Because they don't have documents.
When we were doing the mass registration without an ID, without a birth certificate for it, we were not addressing them. And, because we are aware of the question you have just asked of Kenyans without them. And I also want to correct the impression that there was a NIIMs season. NIIMs is a lifelong registration. We have gone flat out to ensure that we just finished at the end of August a rapid remote initiative for registration of births and deaths. Currently, and intending this Friday.
So presumably, you're trying to address the gaps that exist so that you get people on, right?
We have always done that. And we can provide you every now and then. We go for even mobile registration of people, probably twice in a year.
Yes. The reason why you're setting up NIIMs, Dr. Kibicho, is to provide Kenyans with a wide array of services, right?
We are setting up this first, the first ever digital population register,
and then
which then makes it efficient for identification of people at points of service.
It will be necessary for identification so that you get a service, correct?
No. And I think if you allow, the choice of convenience belongs to the Kenyan.
The choice of?
Whether you want the convenience or not belongs to you.
The convenience of what?
Of service.
Convenience of service.
When you go for a service, for example, if you go to hospital and you are being discharged,
yes,
and NHIF has to pay for you.
Yes.
They are currently, because we don't have any digital identification register.
Mm-hmm.
Before they pay, there are a number of places you require to go before they believe they should pay for you. Okay. And what we are saying is, if you want a convenience where if your data is in one basket, then you don't have to walk around town to get that convenience.
Yes,
but should you choose that you still want the long route, there is no Kenyan being forced to take that convenience.
So you're saying, in order to facilitate convenient access to services, you're making the system, correct?
So that you don't have to walk about.
Yeah, so you don't have to walk about. Yeah. So those who don't acquire will be inconvenienced. That's the logical step.
By choice.
By choice. They will be inconveniencing themselves by choice. Yes. This is despite the fact that they don't have access to documents, not by choice.
They have, and I think I still also, I can see you want the yes and no, but if you give me an opportunity, I say this, that I doubt there is a country in the world where you would walk into their National Registration Bureau and say that I am a Kenyan or I belong to this country, and you are told go in and take a picture and you are now a citizen. And that is why, and we have attached that as part of the affidavit. When you are going for a national ID, the primary source of identification for you is the assistant chief, because that is the smallest administrative unit. So the assistant chief has got to say, they know your parents, they know you, and they sign. In fact, now we are not even just wanting them to sign, they even put their thumbprint. But if the assistant chief says they don't know you, then the law allows the registrar. Yes, and therefore, anybody who doesn't have a document, it's not because the doors are open for getting the document, and we are open even now in the field as we speak, still giving people documents, and it's not a start-stop exercise that we do, it's a lifelong exercise.
But as of now, you've agreed that an individual who's not on the system will be inconvenienced by choice. So they want.
The ones will walk more than the person who has the convenience.
I use the word as inconvenience. They will be inconvenienced by choice. This is despite the fact that they do not have the documents to get onto me.
Not having the documents is also by choice. Because when they avail themselves as they are true Kenyans before a vetting committee, and a vetting committee is established by our regulations properly, and I will be specific, for example, for the Nubian community who are part of these petitions.
Yes.
When we go for voting, it starts with the assistant county commissioner, goes all the way, and one of the members of that is an elder from the community.
So you can explain how it starts, the steps that you have done as a Nubian.
Not as a Nubian.
Yes. You talk about the Nubian.
As a person who is being vetted.
Yes.
And
we've agreed the Nubians are vetted.
If you just give me 1 second to get the actual list. The list of the vetting committee.
You've not submitted that into evidence, have you?
Part of my talking notes.
Oh, talking.
I've got it. When a person avails themselves, in this case, a Nubian, where and there is art. Not all Nubians don't have IDs.
Let me rephrase it to you.
Yeah.
Can a Nubian acquire nationality documents without vetting?
A Nubian who is positively identified.
No, but answer my question. Can a Nubian, can a Nubian acquire, and that's what you said in your after. Can a Nubian acquire nationality documents without vetting?
Yes, if he's positively identified by the assistant chief.
That would be vetted, right?
Every Kenyan who gets an ID, every 100% of Kenyans who get IDs must be confirmed by an assistant chief. 100%, even
so it's your evidence that, and this would be,
I don't think so.
This would be, I would like the court to refer to the director of NIIMs for vetting.
Yeah.
And I presume he knows quite a bit about it. It talks about committees. And a committee is not made of one person, is it?
A committee
is made up of one person.
If I help,
yeah.
And it is in accordance with the law. When the registrar is not convinced and he demands proof of citizenship, which is provided for by prior to the law, it's called power to demand proof of information. That is Section 8 of the Registration of Persons Act. It says a registration officer may require any person who has given any information in pursuance of this act or rules made there and furnish such documentary or other evidence of truth of that information as that goes on. But while they read, the director may establish identification committees or appoint persons as identification agents to assist in the identification of information furnished by a parent or guardian. And that committee is as follows. The chairperson of that committee, when the registrar,
the vetting committee.
This is the vetting committee, is assistant county commissioner.
Assistant county commissioner
is the one who chairs.
Is the chair.
And the assistant county
commissioner.
Just to make you aware, is the person in charge of a division.
The DO.
It's the DO. The civil registration officer.
Civil registration officer.
Immigration officer, where applicable.
Immigration officer, where applicable.
National Police Service officer.
National Police Service officer.
CID officer.
CID officer.
NIS officer.
NIS officer.
The chief.
The chief.
Assistant chiefs.
Assistant chief.
Elders and drawn from each of the ethnic.
How many elders do you You said
it depends on the area.
Because we have 7 so far members in the nation.
Yes, that is the discretion of the chairman, because if it's one homogeneous,
you can have one.
You can have one elder. But if it's a place where there are many ethnic communities, then we can have
each elder to represent. So for the court's understanding, yes, each elder to represent one elder per community.
Community.
So if Nubians one Nubian elder will
be there, will be part of that.
That will be the age.
And the registration officer, the member of the National Registration Bureau, who will be the secretary to that. And this is by our regulation.
So that 10, I've just been counting.
They are up to 10. They are up to J.
Yeah, about 10. Yeah. And all those officers that are there, 9 out of the 10 are the government officers, right?
That's correct.
Only one is an elder. Yes. From doing this kind. Yes. So this is a government initiative, a government-led exercise to identify who you are, isn't it?
Of course, it's a government-led exercise.
Thank you. I'll move on slightly. In paragraph 22 of the affidavit of this, I presume, Janet Bushero, who happens to be the director of civil registration services. Have you heard of that? Yeah. 22. I don't know if you can come. There's only one affidavit by yeah. It's dated the 26th of February 2019. You've seen it, sir? You've seen it, sir?
Paragraph 22?
Yes.
Yeah.
Affidavit. Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Would you mind reading for us, sir?
Yeah, that by dint of Article 2 of the Constitution, Kenya is bound by the Hague Convention on Protection of Children and Cooperation in respect of the inter-country adoption to ensure the principle of subsidiarity. State parties are enjoined to ensure that the best interest of children raised by family or kin are upheld.
Yeah, you can stop there. I was specifically interested in that phrase, the best interests of the child. Dr. Kibicho, you are aware, and indeed you've responded in your paragraph 9 of the affidavit. The big affidavit, paragraph 9. You're aware of the African Committee of Experts on Rights and Welfare of the Child. Paragraph 9, you've responded to that. You've responded both to the African Commission and the African Committee of Experts.
Paragraph 9, my big affidavit
Yes.
reads differently.
In fact, the small one is, sorry for that mistake. Small. Paragraph 9. Yeah, sorry, it's a small one, the last one, the one which you referred to previously. For the report. This would be the affidavit dated the 14th of May, the small one.
Yeah, paragraph 9.
Yes, you've responded and you've said, with regard to the decisions of the African Commission on Human People's Rights and the African Committee of Experts on Rights and Welfare of the Child, you've responded. You've enumerated some statements there.
Yes.
So you know the existence of this committee. And you are aware, and you've responded in your affidavit, of the factual findings of the Nubian minors decision.
Read the one that is of interest.
Yes, the Nubian minors decision. You are aware of the factual findings, right?
I'm telling you to read the one that you want me to confirm.
There's only one Nubian minors decision, and you've responded to it in your affidavit. Yes. You are aware of it.
Yes.
Do you accept the findings? That committee in that decision.
I would want you to read it.
Yes, you know it, and you accept it, or you don't know it, and you don't accept it.
I just need to refresh.
You need to refresh.
Yeah.
The Nubian minors.
I want to say a yes or a no. Let me refresh.
All right. So I presume it's a no. You don't know. We can go with that as of now without checking.
You can come back to it.
Yes. Yes. I'm based on the response that he has. That's why I'm leading into it. If he doesn't know, he doesn't know, and he doesn't need to respond. That would be my submission. But I can rephrase the question. The the Nubian Minors Physician African Committee, are you aware it stated that it is never in the best interest of the child to be stateless? It stated that. Do you agree with that?
In fairness, in fairness to the witness and the giving of direction by the court, the witness needs to see what is being referred.
Yes, Mr. Bashir, please, so that you can proceed. It is part of your job.
I'll come back to that question. You will have time. And Dr. Tibicho, in your affidavit and in your statement, when my learned friend was questioning you, you talked about how the current databases that we have in Kenya, whether it's the database for ID, that database for passports, are, in your words, adulterated, correct?
Correct.
And that you've been trying to fix this problem at least since 1989, about 30 years you've been trying to fix it.
Correct.
That one of the ways in which you try to fix this issue is what is called the Integrated Population Registration System, IPRS.
Correct. It was never intended to clean by bringing a physical person. All IPRS did is information of registration of persons, information on civil registration, and information of immigration. And the form itself is the center where if civil registration wants, for example, if someone goes for a passport and they say they are Kenyans,
yes,
one of the things they produce is a birth certificate and an ID they are over 18.
yes.
Then IPRS would help in instead of you being sent. Once you produce the documents at immigration, then it will check if this document belonging to the same person as the birth certificate. Then we have a fair confidence that you are the one. But with all that effort, we still continue to see very evident adulteration. And that is why we decided, besides expanding the scope, you see the Huduma is not just the 3 documents, it's more than that, including the driver's licenses were applicable. We decided that for us, then clean. Because if a person, if we were just going to use desktop behind the desk verification, these 2 IDs that have the same numbers but are with 2 different individuals.
Yes. The system will pick up.
But who will you assign to? Because they are 2 individuals. That's why it's necessary that this person, and the one who appeared there, is the one who the ID belongs. If they, because it's not possible in Kenya that you are the same person and the system at the National Registration Bureau generates 2 IDs. So one of them will have been manufactured outside the system. And therefore the person who manufactured, if they are unaware that the ID they are holding is manufactured, they will appear before us and we will be able to verify that the ID you are holding is not your ID, and we go on now and process that person by giving them, if they qualify, if they are Kenyans, giving them an ID that is correct.
Let me take from there. So two individuals have the same ID, so there is an error in the system. So you said you will summon them.
No, we will not summon them. The Huduma processes provided an opportunity that they will come.
They will come.
They will come, and we will pick the ID, write their number.
Let's take it step by step.
Yes.
You have acquired this data.
Yes.
And you've done mass registration for a lot of Kenyans.
Yes.
Millions of them.
Yeah. 38 million.
38 million. Yeah. You've acquired the data of 38 million, and this includes ID, passport. And you're saying one of the objectives of this exercise is to clean any discrepancies that has been there as a result of the previous weaknesses in the system, correct?
Yes.
And you've given an example that some of the weaknesses include people who have the same ID number, who have the same name, or things like that, correct? Or even stated in your affidavit, people who have different names in their ID and in the passport, correct?
That was the IPRS.
That's idea. So we have the data now. Yes. We are doing what you talked about, cleaning, correct?
Yes.
And this process of cleaning would be to say that the individual who is affected by this kind of thing would have to come at a later stage, because when you're doing the data collection, you couldn't know, correct? Yeah. So at a later stage, they would come before you, correct?
You would identify, okay, let me say, if this code allows, what we will do, we will start with the basic information, which is a birth certificate. I want to make you aware that birth certificate, and it's even written there, is not proof of citizenship. A birth certificate is just a recording of an event, a birth took place in Kenya, so it's given to anybody born here. But you claim you are Kenyan, so a birth certificate, if you are below 18,
yes,
we will, which you have presented to us, we will then call the data, because the birth certificate registration is by civil registration services. We will call the data of the birth certificate and say there's a person who has, there's another 18 person who has appeared before us here with a birth certificate number so and so, and you match the data I'm having with what you have in your record. Because I tell you that the records with the civil registration will have accurate information. But the people holding birth certificates are not necessarily holding birth certificates that are with the civil registration, because some of them are they have not difference. They are manufactured outside the system. And this is what we want to bring. So if they agree that there is this birth certificate that came before us and it exists in the same details, you pass the first test, the first filter. If you are above 18, then we go to the ID. After you have passed all those, then we will, when we are convinced you are the person, then we will match the other things for you. We will call the KRA pin and say, is this person the same person as KRA? Because we are trying to put your personal information in one basket.
Yes. Dr. Each of these elaborate steps that you're talking about right now, you've not adduced any evidence in terms of how that is going to be done, have you?
Because this code, by the time we are doing our affidavit, when we are responding, there was already an order. We don't process anything. So because we had not been ordered not to capture data, we went ahead and captured data for 38 million Kenyans, but the data is just sitting idle waiting for the doing.
So no system has been designed.
We had the system designed and all that, but we can't press the start button. Yeah.
So the process of cleaning, but
it's all in place. Once the code rules,
but it's not submitted, and this is really important. You've not submitted to this court, how that process will be done in terms of you will look at the birth certificate to see whether it compares with what is the system. And the next, you will go to the ID, check the same. Then you go to the passport, check the same. You have not submitted any of those steps in your theft, have you?
If we did that, we would be disobeying the court. Because the court actually stopped us after data capture from processing that data further.
But the procedure, you just said procedure and the policy, the steps you take. Do you have anything written on that?
We have the processes and the cleaning modules, the applications. They were already before we went to collect Huduma.
So before even we started the process, you had those ready in place.
The development of software takes time, and I also want to.
What I'm interested is the steps that you just mentioned. Those processes in determining and doing the cleaning. Those steps, I'm very interested in them.
Yeah, and they are
you knew them before you started the process, correct?
Obviously,
you knew these steps.
We knew and we know now.
Okay. So before even this case was filed, this case is all filed, you knew these steps, correct?
Yes, we knew them before the case.
You had them written down, correct? These steps.
We had them
written down in the form of a policy or a regulation.
No. It's data filtering. It's a software you're developing. You don't write a policy around a software.
What I'm interested in is what you talked about. The identifying that this individual is birth certificate has an issue. When you look at it, ID has an issue. Those steps you talk about.
That's the filter I'm talking about. It's a software. And a software is developed. You start by drawing a flowchart, which exists, but we don't write a policy about a flowchart.
Yes.
That exists.
Which the flowchart?
We have it, but it wasn't necessary because it wasn't necessary. We had been stopped from further processes. It exists. The court views it's.
My colleague, Senior Counsel Karua, has asked you about transparency. This is really important. So I'll leave it at the fact that you've not submitted these steps. And the fact that these steps could actually result, and one of the obvious results could be that somebody who has been going around with an ID thinking that he's a Kenyan could actually be deprived of his nationality. It's possible.
That's not correct. The correct position is this. Yes. And we have seen this with a lot of documentation. Okay. The fact that Kenyan is holding a fraudulent document does not mean that that Kenyan is aware that the document they are holding is fraudulent. For example, birth certificates, when it became necessary that you cannot take your child to class 1 without a birth certificate by the Basic Education Act, there are parents who are in a hurry, and there are groups around who are in a hurry also to produce fake birth certificates to Kenyan, legitimate Kenyan children. Yes. So all we are doing is identifying that this document you are holding is fraudulent, but does not mean you are fraudulent yourself. Yes. And that is why we will go the next step to issue you with the correct documentation. And we have done that.
But I'm asking, those steps out of the application, you have not submitted that. I think we're going to be faster. Somebody who has a fraudulent, as you call it, fraudulent ID, will you proceed and issue them without Huduma number? Despite the fact that you know that actually.
The person in a fraudulent ID, they are Kenyans. Yes. What we do is we issue them.
Before you issue
you cannot issue them with a Huduma number. The Huduma number issue is the last step after the collation has been done and the verification, and we have the system has satisfied itself that this is that person. Then a Huduma number is generated. But before that is satisfied, it cannot be generated. But the fact that it was rejected because your ID is matched does not mean that you will not get Huduma number, because Huduma number is a lifelong process.
It will
It
just
will
take-
continue to eternity.
Yeah, it will take presumably, you have to wait for the process of ID to end and then apply again for the Huduma number, presumably, isn't it?
Because when you are holding a fraudulent ID, certainly
Without your knowledge.
without your knowledge,
Yeah.
certainly
Mm.
you cannot enjoy the same quick response of Huduma generation as a person who is holding a legitimate one. Because as a government, we also have a responsibility to ensure that only people who are Kenyans get Kenyans documents, and where we have doubt,
Yeah.
we have a responsibility to Kenyans to ensure that we satisfy ourselves.
Dr. Kibicho, is there information on the percentage of fraudulent IDs that have been issued?
I would have to check that. I don't know.
Is there, do you think that information exists?
I would have to check
But
that.
presumably you wouldn't know because you're trying to now keep using the Huduma process.
Can only guess.
Can you give me an estimate?
I don't want to give you an estimate on
10%?
something I haven't.
20%?
I would give
It
you.
could be as high as 80%.
I would give you a number I haven't interrogated.
You don't know.
But if it's necessary, I will be able to ask for it.
That as a result of your data collection exercise, that as high as 50%, because you said you don't know.
I think it's the same question. You require a number.
Yes.
Because when I introduced myself, I said I'm an engineer, so numbers to me matter.
Yes.
I don't want to give you a number that I'm not sure of.
Yes.
But if it is important,
Yes.
that number can offer our estimate,
Mm.
we can make that available.
Okay, but you've not made it available right now. This call.
We haven't.
You haven't. Yeah. You've actually raised a very interesting area of numbers. And Dr. Kibicho, PS in Kenya, is the chair of the National Technical Committee on NIIMs, correct?
That's correct.
And that would be you. You're the chair of the Technical Committee on NIIMs.
It's PSCT and I'm one.
You're the chair.
Yeah.
You are responsible for oversight of NIIMs implementation, work plans, and budgets.
Yes.
My question to you would be, is NIIMs being funded by taxpayers' money?
NIIMs is 100% funded by taxpayers' money.
Dr. Kibicho, how much has NIIMs costed Kenya so far?
So far, we've spent in the neighborhood of 7 billion.
7 billion.
At closure, we will have spent about 9.6 billion.
9.6 billion.
We still haven't closed because there's that part that we are awaiting to do.
The cleaning, the systems, design. Yeah. So it will cost another 2 billion to finish that.
To finish that, yeah.
Will there be presumably a cost of maintenance of the system? Will there be a cost presumably as well?
There will be a cost, of course, it's a system.
Okay. Now, one of the things that is important to people who like numbers is the issue of cost-benefit analysis. Dr. Kibicho.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And you, as an experienced government, this is an important consideration, correct? Before project is undertaken.
That's correct.
Dr. Kibicho, you've not submitted to this court in numbers. You said the project will cost about, give or take, more than 9 billion. You can agree on that.
Yeah.
In terms of quantifying the benefits, have you stated anywhere how much the benefit in numbers?
We were responding strictly to the issues raised by the petitioners.
Yes.
And
The petitioners.
we have the numbers.
Yes.
You've
not submitted, and this is a straightforward question, Dr. Kibicho. I think everyone is getting clear. What I want to know is, you've not submitted these numbers weighing, 9 billion or more here. and benefits of, whatever it is here. Have you submitted that?
And we've been asked directly that one we would have supplied, we have it.
But you have not submitted.
Because it was never an issue directly asked.
It's actually quite interesting that Brian Mwenga, who's one of the experts, he actually said something about that. So
the numbers we have,
but you've not submitted them to this court. He also did not have the numbers. You not submitted them, right?
because we are never asked to submit.
Then petitioners have challenged this expenditure of taxpayers' money, whether it's the best use of it. So we leave to the court to determine whether they did that or not. Dr. Kibicho, I'll take you back to the question I asked you about the African committee. And my colleague here will refer you to the actual decision. The question which you had left, and council had said I would refer you to it. Yeah.
This for the addition of finance. We are referring from paragraph 69 of that decision, is titled Decision of the African Committee. And my colleague, I believe, wants to ask him to be from recommendation 1 to the last recommendation 5.
For the next repetition.
It's a decision of the African, it's not challenging that decision.
The court needs to know what you are referring to. Can we get the petition? The first petitioner's petition. It's a decision by the African Committee of Experts. You say from paragraph 69.
And it's just type condition.
That's the last paragraph.
Yes.
You can read for us.
You want us to read all of it?
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Position of the African Committee is paragraph 69. For the reasons given above, the African Committee finds multiple violations of Article 6(2), 3, 4, Article 3, Article 14, 2, B, C, and G, and Article 11(3) of the African Children's Charter by the Government of Kenya, and recommends that the Government of Kenya should take all necessary legislative, administrative, and other measures in order to ensure that children of Nubian descent in Kenya that are otherwise stateless can acquire a Kenyan nationality, and the proof of such a nationality at birth. 2, recommends that the Government of Kenya should take measures to ensure that existing children of Nubian descent whose Kenyan nationality is not recognized are systematically afforded the benefit of this legislation as a matter of priority. Comments that the Government of Kenya should implement its birth registration system in a non-discriminatory manner and take all necessary legislative, administrative, and other measures to ensure that children of Nubian descent are registered immediately after birth. It comments that the Government of Kenya could adopt a short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan, including legislative, administrative, and other measures to ensure the fulfillment of the right to the highest attainable standard of health, and the right to education, preferably in consultation with the affected beneficiary community. The last one, number 5, recommends the Government of Kenya to report on the implementation of this recommendation within 6 months, date of notification of this decision in accordance with the rules of procedure. The committee will appoint one of its members to follow up on the implementation of this decision.
Thank you, Dr. Kibicho. And I think you've noticed similarities between that decision and Article 27 of our Constitution, correct?
Yeah.
You noticed that they talk about legislative, policy, and budgetary measures, correct?
That's correct.
And Dr. Kibicho, you've not submitted any evidence, and as far as you know, of compliance with that recommendation, have you?
I don't know what document you're referring to, but we have our budget, we have our programs, we have our plans that show compliance to that. Which you can submit.
Are you aware whether the Kenyan state, the Kenyan government, has submitted to the African Committee implementation of that decision?
It's a 2011 decision. Anytime confirmed.
So you don't know whether that has been done or not.
I don't want to confirm. I hadn't prepared that.
Okay. And you don't know whether specific budgetary allocations have been done to implement this decision.
I know there is specific budgetary allocations given by our.
You don't know whether specific budgetary allocation has been done to implement this decision.
I know it has been given to implement
This decision.
the intent of that decision,
But
not just for Nubians, but
I'm not asking
all.
about the intent. I'm asking the straightforward because we don't have to fight about this. You don't know, and it's easy to say I don't know.
I know.
You know.
Yeah.
So you've actually allocated a certain budget for implementation of the decision of the African Committee, correct?
For circumstances like this,
For circumstances like this,
including Nubians.
including, but you're saying basically that broad
We have done
in your one, but not specific.
I know that for a fact. The accounting notes, so I know the budget
That has been allocated.
and I even know the activities that are going on. We have just finished this exercise with civil registration service, and we are even ongoing currently as far as we sit here, the National Registration Bureau, and we've allocated the neighborhood of around 500 million for this.
And our constitution also is very clear about specific affirmative action measures. And this is where sort of my real question is, have you taken specific affirmative action measures to resolve the challenges of communities like the
We have, and
you have taken?
the Nubian community specifically. There has been a lot of interaction with us, but in our affidavit, you can even see they are coded even opportunity to discuss with the public sector for material. We are there where they are to speak, and for records, the response of our RRI on this from the Nubian community is also very impressive, and it has always been like that. But I also still want to say that as I have a yes or no answers, that the impression being created that Nubians don't get IDs is false.
It's okay. This is not my, and presumably you're reacting to the decision of the African Committee. You're saying that the African Committee's conclusion and factual finding is false.
Alluding to your posing to a yes or no, even when I have an expanded explanation. So what I'm saying is that there is affirmative action that we are taking in the Nubian communities to ensure that those ones who pass the vetting, and that's a provision that exists for all people who are resident in Kenya, want to get their proof of citizenship, and the registrar is in doubt. And that's why I have said, if you are a Kikuyu in Turkana and the registrar in Turkana finds doubt whether you are Kenyan or not, they will go to the law, form a vetting committee that is made of assistant county commission, all the way plus an elder who is a Kikuyu in that Turkana place to verify, are you really a Kenyan? And once that's done, so that's why I'm saying we have done much more than the African Union wanted us to do.
You've not, Dr. Kibicho, you've not submitted any report of implementation. Especially at paragraph E. You say, I am advised by second and third response advocates, which advice I verily believe to be accurate in that the said decisions are not judicial determinations which bind the Kenyan state. This is your statement in the manner suggested by the first petition, correct?
Yeah.
So you stand by that statement.
I stand by that.
So does that sound like somebody who submitted a report to?
I said I am not sure I checked, but
yes,
going by this, then we are saying that the African Commission on Human Rights made recommendations advised that we are not bound to go by those recommendations. They were just recommendations to the country.
So you've not submitted to them according to this.
We could have submitted a report that says exactly that.
But for this, you don't. That's why you submitted.
A report does not mean that you send a report that complies. You can send a report that says we don't comply. That's what I'm saying. Yes. That I am not sure whether we submitted a negative report or not. And you will then need to give me time to counter check that. But as far as we are concerned, we are not bound by the
Dr. Kibicho, would it have been easier when you are responding to this particular issue in affidavit to say that we have responded? Clearly, you want to respond, you want to act on this issue, right? You want to give Nubian children birth certificates, correct? This is a government position, giving Nubian children birth certificates, correct?
Our effort to register Kenyans is not guided by African Commission on Human Rights. It's guided by our own constitution. It's guided by our own beliefs, and that is why.
But you don't mind your image at the African level, do you?
We do.
It's very important for the Kenyan state. Its image and compliance with the recommendations at the continental level, correct?
Yes.
As a democratic state, we value ourselves as a country that is interested in the rule of law, correct?
And the rule of law for this particular case
Yes.
is not generated by the recommendations of the African Commission. Please let me finish. By African Commission on Human Rights, we are saying that we have a responsibility as a government to go back to our constitution. That says, what do we do with a person who is found in Kenya? Looks like they are this age, I think it's all in the constitution. We comply with that. But by coincidence, while we are fulfilling that mandate requested from us by the constitution, we probably also fulfill the recommendations of the African Commission.
Which you don't know whether it has been done.
Now, what I'm saying is if the contention is stateless children and stateless people, then the fairest thing to us is to answer, what are we doing about it? And then it will be left upon God to see, is it then complying with what the commission wanted?
You said, and I think I'd like to pick up on that. You said Kenya values its compliance with decisions at the continental level, correct? At the African Union level, correct?
Correct.
And in your affidavit at paragraph, the big one, 46, you referenced paragraph 46 of the big affidavit. You referenced a standing forum of the African Union Commission. Yes, and which made a declaration called the Nouakchott Declaration.
Yeah.
And the declaration, you talked about several commitments on digitization, integration, specifically on CRDS, which is civil registration vital statistics, correct? Yeah. And you've given this, compliance with this Nouakchott Declaration as, one of the things that you want to do in order to implement NIIMs, correct?
Yes.
But it's interesting how when it comes to the decision of the African Committee, and in fact, there's also another decision of the African Commission on Nubians. I think you know also about that one. I'm not delved into because it's not the same. You've not demonstrated any evidence to that commission, or you've not submitted any report to that commission or to this court of compliance with that, with those continental bodies. You haven't, have you?
We haven't, and we are not obliged to the recommendations.
Yeah. You're not obliged to do it.
Yeah. And the responsibility of registration of people
yes.
with the government.
But Dr. Kibicho, in 46, you say,
presumably when Melanie friend asks question, it's because he wants to hear the answer to them. He continually overrides the witness. He's trying to explain something and he's rushing off to the next question, saying that everybody must be hungry. Yes, we are hungry to hear proper answers from the witness. He shouldn't be harangued like this. Please let the witness answer. It used to be a bit of benefit to them.
Yes, and yes, wonderful.
I think we have an established tradition now in this case that during cross-examination, if the witness is being asked a yes or no question, he should answer. And if there is no chance, if the counsel is not interested in explanation, then the counsel, the opposite counsel in re-examination can get the information he wants. And I think we've been giving the witness a lot of latitude to explain, and my learned colleague is perfectly entitled as per what we have been doing to restrict his answer so that we move forward.
Yes, but I would like to again remind the parties, please ask direct questions so that you get direct answers, Mr. Bashir. And we've logged this particular answer for the last 5 minutes. The witness has stated that no reports have been given, is not sure the reports of the committee decisions have been given. So can we move to something else?
Most obliged. I'm sorry if I am haranguing you. I have no point like this. I hope you're okay with my continuing.
Let's proceed.
Dr. Kibicho, what comes out from your answers is that you choose the continental declarations to abide by and the ones to ignore, depending on your preferences. Would that be a correct illustration of your position?
We choose to do what our constitution asks us to do.
Say yes or no, Dr. Kibicho. Do you choose the ones to comply with decisions and the decisions not to comply with at the African level?
Yes, we do.
You choose.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kibicho. If I refer you to the data capture form, which my learned friend had taken through,
Yes, on there.
do you see the part of the second, that will be page 13, lady of the big, this would be the big affidavit, page 13, data capture form. Can you read for me, Dr. Kibicho, the disclaimer part, and specifically read for me the last sentence of that, of the disclaimer?
I understand that my information may be provided to an unauthorized. Therefore, it's authorized.
Yeah.
It is preceded by the word and government agencies.
Dr. Kibicho, you said that this person would be required to understand that his information could be provided to an authorized to specify that. This is actually a consent, isn't it? You're asking for this person to understand that the information can go to another to the agency.
As long as that agency is authorized.
Authorized. You're asking for their consent, presumably. That's the meaning. Would it have been better, Dr. Kibicho? And if you look at your form, it only has one box. Correct? It says only agree. Correct?
Yes.
Wouldn't it have been better to have a disagree there?
Disagree would mean that the person has a choice to disobey the laws of the constitution.
The person.
That's our understanding.
Okay, let me give you my understanding as the council. The person has withdrawn his consent from having this information shared. He has not given his consent.
Then the person wouldn't register for Huduma in the first place.
So it is your position that the moment you register for Huduma, you are consenting to having your entire information shared.
The information
you have submitted
here shared to authorized institutions, authorized by their laws.
You have consented to that. And there is no two ways about it. You have to do it. I have to agree, correct?
Say authorized.
Yeah. You have no option. And you understand that this is what the law requires, right?
I read again that I understand that my information may be provided to an authorized government agency or agencies. But these are straightforward.
Okay. Dr. Kibicho, I have made a point on that. One of the interesting statements that has been made in with regard to this project in several affidavits is the fact that NIIMs will be useful in protecting national security, correct?
It's one of the uses of.
It's a serious use, isn't it? And as the Minister of Interior, this sounds like it's important to you, correct?
Yes, yes.
Dr. Kibicho, if you refer to your data protection policy at clause 7.3, it's in the affidavit of Jerome Uche. Page 119. Are you there with me, Dr. Kibicho?
Which part?
Exemption 7.3.
Yes.
Would you read that sentence?
The policy acknowledges that there will be exceptional circumstances where personal data can be processed without the data subject consent. Some of the exemptions include.
Yes, I was just interested in that part for now.
Some of the exemptions include processing of personal data in the course of purely personal or household activity if disclosure is required by law or court order. Processing personal data necessary for national security, personal data for journalism, literature, and art, processing data for research, history, and statistics, or any other exemption prescribed by Data Protection Commissioner.
So the processing of data, I'm sorry, thank you for continuing. The processing of data, personal data, necessary for national security is exempted from this policy, correct? That's what this policy says.
It does not need that all the time. And if you want to understand it, I can give an example.
Please go ahead.
For example, if there's an attack in this courtroom, God forbid, and we need to pursue the attackers.
Yes.
We need to check whether the traits we found here match the people we suspect. We obviously will not go to them to ask for consent. That's the meaning.
So in terms of determining the circumstances, you do that, right? You're the one who determines the circumstances in which personal data can be processed without reference to this policy, correct?
There is the exemption.
Yeah.
The Data Protection Commission of that office in place, but I'll tell you what now happens in practice.
I'm asking you, it's a straightforward question, yes. And I think that you've answered what we do. That you determine the circumstances, these special circumstances. Yes, you're the one who determines it. And there is no data, there is no control as to what, there's no list saying. In case of a terrorist attack, we exempt. In case of a drought, we exempt. In case of a flooding, we exempt. There is no list like that, is there?
There are the laws, security laws.
I'm not asking about security laws. With regard to exemption under this data protection policy, There isn't, is there?
There is, because it refers to national security, and national security
That's all I'm
exemption.
saying. I asked you, I remember the previous question I asked you. I asked you whether it means is for purposes of national security. You said yes.
It's one of the uses.
But you said it is, isn't it? Yeah. And now we're saying that this policy exempts circumstances which can be called national security.
True.
And you've not stated, and you've given a very interesting example about attacks, but you've not stated anywhere, and there's no document which shows these exceptional circumstances. So for all we know, the entire sharing of data could be construed as being exempt. The entire NIIMs system and the sharing of data therein could easily be justified as being exempt from this principle.
No. Because you cannot treat this policy outside the national security laws as well.
Yeah, it's really an argument that would be made. One of the things that I have noted, and we sort of flogged this horse very well, the issue of CRDS, but universal birth registration. And you talked about rapid, what do you call it, rapid results issue, correct?
Yes.
And the government values its commitment to rapid results initiative, correct?
That's an initiative for government.
And you referred to the SWOT analysis done in collaboration with UNICEF, correct? And the SWOT analysis, UNICEF being an organization that is interested in the welfare of children. And you provided as evidence, of your work, this SWOT analysis, correct? And the objects, the design, and the interests of UNICEF at the time was to ensure the issuance of a unique identifier from birth, correct? And this would be done in the form of the issuance of a birth certificate.
Sure.
And Dr. Kibicho, you've talked about benchmarking and study tours that are done in various countries. And one of the countries that has been mentioned is Estonia. The recommendation that came out from that trip was to do incremental registration of births for all children, correct? So Dr. Kibicho, instead of doing this massive NIIMs project, registering people, including adults, including foreigners, and we've acknowledged that there are errors in the various data. Why couldn't you, Dr. Kibicho, incrementally capture children from birth, right? And issue them with this unique identifier as the way forward?
Will you allow me to explain?
Yeah, I would try some else.
Because the mix because that question keeps coming, the mix that occurs is because we are mixing people who are already alive now, who have birth certificates, have ID, have NSSF cards, like yourself, you have everything. We are confusing those with the people who, if this court allows us to proceed, who will be gone after we start this. And if you allow, I will just.
What we're interested in is 100%.
I want to show the incremental. That's what you asked.
Yeah.
And if we separated people who are alive today, who have all these documents, and we have to see how we will deal with them. But a child who will be born when this has been allowed by court to proceed, ordinarily they will get a birth certificate, and a birth certificate will have a number. A number. Birth certificates have numbers. When that child gets to age 6, they will need to go to primary school. And what is happening in the current laws is they will go to NIIMs, Basic Education Act, and they'll get an NIIMs number. And our question is, what stops us from making that NIIMs number the same number that this child got at birth? Then when this child gets to age 18, they will get an ID. What stops us from making that ID number be the same ID now? I mean, birth certificate
And
number.
Register all the children.
No. Let me finish. I'm talking about the ones born after this condition. Because that will eventually die. When they die, what stops us from giving the death certificate number the same number that was given at birth? So that for this child, because the mix that we are getting is that there are children who exist now, but at the incremental, the one that we are talking about, by the time this child gets to death, and assuming that everybody born at that time, born earlier than that time have died, then it means everybody in this country will have a unique identifier from birth to death. But at the moment, we are mixing that because we are there ourselves, who have the birth certificates, which were not captured at birth as a unique number, and we have all sorts of numbers. But if we separate those, then the Estonia case becomes what we are implementing, because we will be incremental. See the children, if this court rules today that we proceed with the Huduma number, then the registration of children who will be born tomorrow follows that Estonia rule. But for us who agree,
Well, what's interesting in the situation is that even in your data collection exercise, you should not try to pick children from birth.
the registration was from birth.
No, in the data, you do not collect data in the system communities. You do not collect data of children from birth.
That's inaccurate.
You collect
Only data we were not correctly for children below 6 years.
yes.
Was the lab print. But about the birth certificate, no, that we are correct.
So you collected the data of children who are below 6 years.
Yes. But remember, the decision to bring the child was the parent and guardian. But a child.
No, that's not my question.
Yes, the question is, the only thing we are not doing is thank for those children.
What do you agree with that country?
Yeah.
The issue, you did not say the law, and this will be my last question. The law which authorizes you to collect the data of the 16,
we have in the Registration of Persons Act, which we
it does not apply to.
well, that's a legal argument.
Thank you very much for explanation. No. My last question, Victor, with the last petition. Before my last question, hello, my classmates asked the question. I was under the impression that only 2 parties noted could examine the certificate. I may be mistaken.
Yes, Honorable Barua.
May please record, we are conducting our petitions at 13. So Mr. Bashir agreed to leave the last 2 questions to Mr. Kamau.
On matters that we given notice on.
Matters that we jointly gave notice of. If you look at the notice given by the first petitioners and the second petitioner, they cover all the issues Mr. Kamau will raise. We are doing this as a team and we've been doing this before.
We haven't been doing that before. That's a correct statement.
to be complying with the direction. Only those persons who give notice are right to do that. These witnesses. It cannot be the petitioner who did not give notice, then override that by being donated and saying, give me that question. It should be the whole purpose of the direction.
If Bashir, if you need to ask more questions, you can do so. But Mr. Kamau, neither Mr. Kamau, we are given any notice for the fact. For the cross-examination of the deponents, the directions were very clear. For the expert witnesses, that time you could do so as a team. But for cross-examination on the deponents, the deponents, the directions were. And it's only the first petition and the second petition of the witnesses.
One of could you confirm whether there is any subsidiary legislation that is has any rules being cascaded under the following the amendments of the registration of customs?
We don't have any other than the post bill on the Huduma number. We are relying on the registration of persons act.
So as you have gone on collecting the Huduma information, you have no regulation.
We are using the registration of persons act.
No new regulations after the amendment.
No new regulation.
Okay, that's all.
And I would.
We are satisfied.
No, so that I don't answer a question I misunderstood. Regulations, do you mean regulations that are not violent or
Not all regulations under the Act have to be gazetted and tabled in Parliament. Okay, thank you. That is all from our team, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bashir. Mr. Agaru, I can see it is now 2:37 p.m. You want to proceed with the re-examination now, or you'd like a break?
That is a break. So that I can put my thoughts together, then come back to a quick run.
All right. And we can adjourn for about 1 hour. That will be sufficient.
Yes.
The convener agrees that. We'll adjourn until